Could be competition. Yeah. Okay, competition between schools. So we've got arguments over defining a app, competition between schools, mixed use of jargon, different terms. Well done. Yeah. Do you think A1, A2, would they understand terms? They're your students, not mine. So words, okay. Meanings, excellent. Yep. And probably when you start to develop your resource, definitions, that's a word they'll be really familiar with. Yeah. So different definitions, different meanings. Jargon's a lovely word. And debate over instruction. So again, I would just use the word argue for debate. So you're keeping the content, you're keeping the meaning, and you don't need Indonesian, yeah? You have to choose the words in your lesson. You need to choose the key information. Every lesson has a learning objective, and you need to make sure that the materials that you're working with work towards your learning objective of the lesson. Okay, language now. John from Credible College at the back. Language is a highly integrated system with mutually connected and supportive structural components. What words in there do you think, Credible College team, what words in there do you think are difficult for your students? What words would you change? Any ideas?
Highly integrated complicated.
Okay, so we've got highly integrated. Any other words? Mutually. Now, it would depend what subject you were teaching, what words you were going to change. Now, if this was, I hope I'm correct, electrical engineering, you wouldn't change the word component because it would be a key word. Yeah. So you need to decide what words are keywords and what words you cannot change. Yeah. So subject dependent, there are some words and terms that you cannot change. And I'll show you what you can do with those words in a couple of minutes. What's this sentence telling us in simple English? What is it trying to say? Does anybody want to tell me? Huh? Okay, fantastic. Probably the only one piece of information in there is language has many components. Language has many components which are connected. I'm not sure if it's saying exactly the same. Perhaps rather than components, grammatical structures. It's talking about language, yeah? So language is a complicated, complicated language structures which are connected, or many those words in some sort of sense. So yes, language is a complicated system with complex grammar. Sorry?
Unit.
The word for me, yeah, I know why they've used the word component here, but strictly speaking, it's not correct. We wouldn't really use component for language. It is more for something like mechanical engineering or mechanics, or so here rather than the structural components would be your structural forms, maybe. Unit then becomes unit 1, unit 2, unit 3 in a book. Elements. Parts is easier. Yeah. Parts is easier than. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. The last one. Identity. I like this one. Identity is a result of social interactions and social settings, interaction with others, and how a person engages with cultural symbols and tools such as text. What does that mean? What's it saying?
Find out. Identity means find out.
Personal identity, yes. But not your ID, not your name, not your age, not where you come from. It's who you are. Yeah?
With all social reflection. Right. So, we said this.
Huh?
Stuff. People know about that. It's just like why something but then when you are in let's say that when you are in like you say that you go to West Java, then you find a different culture. There, your the way you speak, the way you act will be different because of the like what do you call it? Because the influence of the environment where you live, then I would explain it that way. Then so then you understand. Then you see this.
Yes, but that is you're absolutely, the expression is spot on. Yeah, you're not incorrect. To be able to tell you that I arrived yesterday, I sat down at that desk, and the PowerPoint that I had for today, I changed based on what I saw. Because culture influences the way you speak, the way you ask questions, the way that you interact, and it's all part of it. So I'm not here to tell anybody, definitely not telling anyone how to teach. You are all exceptional teachers, yes? You're all in institutions that teaching EMI. I'm giving you strategies to lower language levels to match your students and strategies to identify key information and how to describe and teach it in English. Yeah. So I'm not, and I would never pretend. I've got a very different way in the UK anyway. I've got a very different way of teaching. I trained in Spain. I lived in Spain for many years. And when I was training and being observed, the teacher would come in, and I think correctly so, in a language class. And if she used to say to me, if I see the top of your students' heads, it's not a language class. Because in a language class, the students' mouths need to be moving all the time. Whereas in the UK, a lot of language learning is textbook based. You'll not find a book in my class. You won't find a book in my class. So teaching is very individual. Yeah. And it's about sharing your knowledge. And there's no one that can tell you the way that you do it might be different, but it works for you. Yeah. So these strategies and methodologies are for you to adapt and to put your personality on them, something that works in the classroom. Yeah. But it's about trying to come away from translating. We don't need to translate. We need to simplify the language. We need to match it to the students. Okay. Oh, next one. Okay, so let's have a wee look at this. So, looking at resource development pre-teaching, and a nurse says to a patient, open your face, please. I need to look down the hole at the back of your mouth. Now, there's some specific language there. Now, we would maybe understand what was being asked of us, but there's specific language there that's missing. So I've simplified the language, but I've taken away really the key words. Okay, so open your mouth and teeth. Okay, so how, sorry? So how would, so we've got the words, we've got mouth and throat. So how do we change this to make it understandable? Keith is not the dentist. Ah. Teeth. Okay, now if we go to the doctors, do they see your throat or do they check is a nice simple word and examines a higher level? So we could say, I need to check your throat. So open your mouth, please. I need to check your throat. Throat inside. Throat. Okay. But you're not, yes, but you're also not teaching nurses or doctors. So you don't need to know throat. You need to know your subject. And you know your subject because we can't all know everything. Yeah? Yeah? But what's happened here is the key terms have been taken out. We can understand it, but for teaching purposes, the key terms are missing. Okay, so every subject has specific or specialised vocabulary. Everything. I can talk about all sorts of English grammar that you wouldn't understand, and you don't need to. Even native speakers need to be pre-taught specific terms and expressions. I didn't know the names of the operational parts of the wing of an aeroplane until I had to teach it. I did English for aeronautical engineering and I had to teach information and I had to use and learn words that I didn't know. And I had to build activities to pre-teach these words, yeah? So the methodologies are the same for every subject. You need to identify the key language. Do you know the specialised vocabulary for a car mechanic's tools? Neither do I. I don't have any in my house and I don't want to use any, so I don't need the language. My car mechanic needs it though. If you're teaching car mechanics, you need to teach them the words for the tools. How would you teach a car mechanic or a training car mechanic? How would you teach the names of the tools in English? What would you use? Pictures. Picture and word matching, perhaps. Yeah. And pictures are really good and images are really good for lower level learners. What we don't want to do is to make people translators. So you don't want to have the English word, a picture, and the Indonesian word. You want to have the same as all of you had when you learned Indonesian. You say the word cup. Obviously, it's not Indonesian, but you say the word cup often enough, you perfect it. And when you're very small, your mum gives you a cup and you go, oh, I remember that word. I wanted a cup. And in that cup, there's milk. So you remember to use the words, yeah? So images stop you being able to translating.
I think we should use the side and explain one item by one.
You could explain one item by one item. It depends how big your curriculum is. It depends what your course learning outcomes are. Yeah. If you've got quite a short course and you don't have a lot of information to share, then one by one. Otherwise, perhaps your box of mechanics basic tools might be one slide